Hey YouTubers, welcome back to another episode of Small Engines Questions and Answers for Friday, April 18th, 2011. Well, it's finally starting to warm up. As you can see, all the snow's melted and all the junk is showing. I'm going to have to do a cleanup back here soon. It's about 17 degrees Celsius today, so that's pretty warm compared to what we've been having. So I'm really pleased with that. Hopefully soon the grass will start growing and the leaves will come out on the trees. Then it'll look more like summertime. My first question today is a YouTuber asked me back in the winter time why his machine was blowing a lot of plugs, and he's got a 377 Rotax like in this machine here. But what can cause that is if your points are bad and they're out of timing. Also on the carburetor here, there's a small screw at the back right here where my finger is. Now if this little screw here is screwed in too much, it's going to run a bit rich and you're going to blow a lot of plugs. So I have that little screw there set at 2 turns out. You can also adjust the cable on the oil injector pump down here so that it doesn't send too much oil. There's little notches on the mechanism that you adjust so that they match. There's some geese. That's a good sign. Now another thing people often wonder is if they forgot the gas in their weed eater or grass trimmer, come springtime, does that mean that the carburetor is going to have to be cleaned? Well, the answer to that is no, you do not always have to clean a carburetor just because you forgot fuel in your grass trimmer and it sat there all winter. Now this one here, the fuel sat in there all winter. Now if you didn't have fuel stabilizer in your gas, just dump out the old fuel. After you've put fresh gas in there, if it still won't start, just take off the air cover here. Take off the air filter. And what you want to do is spray some quick start or some flammable penetrating oil through the carburetor hole here, turn the choke on and try to fire it up. Once it fires up, turn the choke off. Sometimes you can get away with it just by spraying quick start through the carburetor to get the fuel moving through it. If you still have a problem, then you may have to take the carburetor apart to see if it's dirty in there. But repeat the process of spraying quick start in the carburetor before you attempt to take it apart. Now if you do decide to take the carburetor apart, go to my channel, type in weed eater or grass trimmer carburetor repair or cleaning, and I do have videos that show how to do this. Here's the saw here that I did the rebuild videos on that you just saw this week. Now a lot of people wonder which spark plug should I use in my Husqvarna chainsaw. Well, what I use is NGK BPMR 7A or a Champion CJ7Y. It doesn't matter if you use a BPM 7A, the R there is just like a resistor in the plug. You can also use an RCJ7Y from Champion. Usually the gap will be good right out of the box of the package, or you can gap it at around 0.30 on your spark plug gap gauge. And if you're wondering if I prefer Champion or NGK, well, I prefer NGK, especially for the chainsaws. I find that the plugs are a bit tougher. I've had Champion plugs in there before and they broke. I had a Champion spark plug one time in a chainsaw and it broke from the vibrations. But Champion does make good spark plugs. I often use them in lawnmowers, like for the RJ19LM spark plug. That goes in most lawnmowers that you're going to get. Another question I often get is people are asking me, how do I adjust these screws here on my weed eater carburetor? Those screws there are splined at the end and you need a special tool like this. Just go on eBay and type in weed eater, Zama, or Walbro carburetor adjusting tool, and it should come up. Make sure that you get the tool that is splined at the end like this. Now a lot of YouTubers have accumulated a lot of old oil and gas during the winter time, and they're wondering, where do I get rid of my old oil and gas? It's something I've mentioned previously in some of my Q&A videos, but I'm going to mention it again because I've been getting a lot of questions regarding this issue. What I do with the old oil and gas that I accumulate over the months is I store them in these 5-gallon pails over here. And on certain days at our local landfill site, they will take all your old chemicals like paint, oil, gas, whatever you've got, you can take it for free, but only on certain designated days. There's also a factory in a town near me that takes your old oil and gas at any time of the year. You just go in there and they'll take your stuff. It doesn't matter what day it is. Sometimes at your local car garage they will take your old oil and gas, but I don't know if they're going to charge you for that. Here in Canada I hear that you can go to Canadian Tire and drop off your old oil and they won't charge you for it. And I do know that at Canadian Tire they will take your old batteries free of charge, but they're getting a few bucks from the battery as well when they dump it. And I've got a few things here that I'm working on. This is a Chinese bike. It's a 50cc clone of the Honda Z50. Well, the engine is anyways. And I'll be starting work on the ST90. It's a 1973, and I have to do some work on the clutch of this bike. So I'm going to try and make videos of all these repairs. Before I finish off today, I want to thank all the YouTubers for their support. I also want to thank all the new YouTubers who have subscribed, and keep your comments coming. I do appreciate them. And we'll see you next Friday, and have a good weekend.